They say her smile disarms you, that it's soft, sweet, maybe even innocent. But what if that smile is a weapon? What if behind those eyes isn't affection, but assessment? Machiavelli warned us centuries ago. Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. In this world, especially the psychological battlefield of relationships, appearances aren't decorations. They are devices. A woman doesn't need to strike you to strip you of your power. She just needs to test your core, subtly, gracefully, often without words. One moment she calls you her rock. The next, she disappears without explanation. She's not lost. She's watching, observing your reaction. Will you chase? Will you beg? Will you crumble? If you do, the game is over before it starts. Because this isn't about romance, it's about hierarchy. In a world where everyone seeks control, the man who cannot master his emotional response is the easiest to dominate. You think her coldness is accidental, her delay in replying, her sudden distance? No. These are ancient tactics wrapped in modern femininity, a test. And the question is simple: can you hold your line? The man who passes is not the one who reacts, but the one who remains still, silent, composed. This is the first test, the test of silence. She wants to know if your power is yours, or if it melts when you're not seen, not praised, not needed. Nietzsche once said, "He who cannot command himself must obey." Most men don't command themselves. They beg for validation, for comfort, for softness. But power does not live in comfort. It lives in composure. The woman who truly respects a man respects his stillness, because it means he isn't moved by illusion. He's anchored. So next time you feel her pull away, don't chase. Observe, smile, breathe. Because the first secret is this: she's not trying to hurt you. She's trying to see you. And if you flinch too soon, you'll never earn what comes next. She gives you mixed signals, and your instincts scream to decode them, to ask, to chase, to clarify. But that's exactly what you must not do, because power isn't won by those who demand answers. It's held by those who can live in the unknown. Machiavelli knew that control is not forceful, it's subtle, it's psychological, he wrote. The first method for estimating the intelligence of a ruler is to look at the men he has around him. But let's flip that. The first way to measure a man's strength is to see what happens when a woman withdraws her affection. The weak man collapses. He texts more, apologizes for things he didn't do, becomes agreeable, hoping to be chosen again. But the strong man, he disappears into stillness. Because true strength is not visible. It's in not reacting, in not explaining, in not negotiating for love. And this is the paradox. When you don't chase, she sees you. When you don't flinch, she trusts you. When you don't explain, she respects you. Because now she realizes you are not afraid to lose her. And that's rare. In a world where most men fold at the first sign of withdrawal, the man who doesn't fold becomes magnetic. Not because he plays games, but because he has standards. Standards that are not spoken, but felt. This isn't coldness, it's containment. She tests you to see if you'll bend, not because she's cruel, but because she needs to know. Can you lead? Can you protect? Not just her, but yourself, because the man who loses himself in pursuit cannot lead anyone. And Machiavelli would agree. He who seeks to deceive will always find someone who will allow himself to be deceived. But in your case, it's not deception, it's discernment. You don't react to everything. You observe, you decide, you speak when you mean to, not when you're provoked. This is how you flip the test. You don't prove your worth to her. You let her prove her alignment with your path, because kings aren't chosen by pleading. They are revealed by pressure. You never told her what to do. You never said, dress like this or don't post that. But somehow she adjusted. Not out of fear, not out of control, but because your presence said what your words never needed to. This is the invisible influence of a man who knows himself, a man who doesn't command, but compels. See, most men try to regulate a woman's behavior by rules, demands, ultimatums. But a woman doesn't submit to rules. She responds to energy, to polarity, to the silent current of masculine certainty. Nietzsche once said, "You have your way. I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist." And yet, in relationships, we pretend there's a right way. We try to script connection like an instruction manual. But real chemistry isn't mechanical, it's magnetic. And magnetism isn't spoken, it's felt. That's why the man who truly understands himself doesn't need to manage a woman's behavior. He becomes a mirror so powerful she evaluates her own. You don't shame her, you don't scold her, you don't even comment. You just hold your ground. Your silence becomes pressure. Your values become the unspoken terms. And she begins to realize, if she wants access to your world, she must elevate herself, because you're not going down to chase her. You're staying still, watching who dares to rise. It's the opposite of neediness. You're not trying to keep her. You're inviting her to meet you where you already stand. And that right there is the test most men fail, because they keep trying to lead without a foundation. But a man without standards is a king without a throne, admired for a moment, overthrown in the next. A woman doesn't want to be led by someone who needs her to feel powerful. She wants to feel pulled by a gravity that exists, with or without her. That's how respect is born, not by raising your voice, but by raising your standard. And that's the message Machiavelli never wrote, but lived. That true authority is not enforced. It is invited, not demanded, but assumed. And when a woman sees that your world moves with or without her, she decides, will she flow with it or be forgotten by it? Here's a truth most men never accept. You don't lose women by being too distant. You lose them by being replaceable. See, neediness doesn't just smell desperate. It signals that you don't see yourself as the prize. And if you don't treat yourself like one, why would she? The test was never about what you say. It was always what happens when you stop trying, when you fall silent, when you walk away, when you no longer chase validation. Does she collapse or does she elevate? This is Machiavelli's invisible test. He didn't write it. He lived it. A woman who truly sees your value doesn't need reminding. She needs space to prove to herself that she can rise to your standard without being pulled. It's not a game. It's gravity. You are the force. She is the motion. And when you stop reaching, only two kinds of women remain: those who vanish and those who step forward. And here's the paradox. The moment you stop trying to win her is the moment you truly do. Because now, it's not persuasion. It's recognition. She sees what you are. because you're no longer hiding behind effort. You've become unshakable, unbothered, unapologetic. You don't scream alpha. You whisper certainty. That's what makes her lean in. Not because you chased her, but because you stood still long enough for her to feel the absence. And the absence told her more than any words ever could. So the real question becomes, will you stay still long enough to see who steps forward? Because the ones who vanish, they were never really with you. They were with the idea of being wanted. But the ones who come closer, they've seen your stillness and still chose you. So don't fear the silence. Don't fear the distance. Don't fear the pause, because sometimes your absence is the final test of her character. And now the final question: if you stopped trying today, who would disappear and who would finally see you?